All right, y'all, today we're going to talk about shoulder impingement. There are several types of impingement. You can impinge at the shoulder, the hip, even the ankle. So shoulder impingement is something that's happening at the joint. Okay, so if you have a painful shoulder whenever you go into this arc of motion, or even throughout the side like this, then your shoulder is most likely impinged. And if you have a hunch that it's impinged, if you say, hey, it feels pinchy, then you're probably impinged to some degree. There are different degrees of it. Like if you feel lots of pain up here, you start to lean away from the shoulder, you can bet there's some instability happening at that joint. And to understand what's really happening with impingement, we have to get what healthy range of motion of the shoulder really is. Healthy range of motion for the shoulder joint is your capacity to go in all ranges of motion. So you should be able to go into flexion, okay? Go into extension, back here, right there. Go into this abduction position, go into adduction, and be able to go into external rotation and even internal rotation. So my skeleton needs to cooperate here. So internal rotation right through here as well, okay? IR, ER, very, very important. If you can go through all those ranges of motion, and more, just go through all the different freedom positions of the shoulder, then you have a healthy shoulder. If you have no pain, no symptoms, no restrictive or tight tissue. With our day and age, where we're sitting on computers all day, we're doing this and our necks are being drawn forward, that's the biggest contributor towards you being prone to an impingement. Okay, so impingement doesn't just happen from one exercise. Like you did an exercise, all of a sudden I'm impinged. The impingement happens from daily activities, and when you actually do a certain exercise, it makes the impingement even more louder, so to speak. It just makes it even more amplified. So, just to understand what's really going on, if you're sitting at a computer for 6 hours a day, and you stretch like your pecs out for like 30 seconds, it's a zero-sum game. It's not going to do much for you because you're going to return back to the position that's terrible for the shoulder. So impingement happens, so you can understand this. Impingement happens when the humerus, this bone here is called the humerus, the head of the humerus, right here, the ball, begins to go up into this process here called the acromion process. So this is the acromion and the coracoid process. When the acromion is right here and the humerus goes up against that acromion, that's usually when most impingement happens. That's what you call anterior or anterior impingement. One of the most common types of impingement there is. Now there is posterior impingement as well, but for most people today in this video, we're going to talk about anterior impingement, pinching up to the front right here, okay? So when the humerus goes up like that, that's when you start to feel that pinchiness. It doesn't feel very good. So in the PT world, they say when there's no approximation of the shoulder, I mean there's no ability for it to depress or get away from that acromion joint, that's when usual impingement happens. Okay, so what are the contributors? What muscle groups are contributing towards this impingement? Well, anything that takes the humerus and pulls it up, right? So let's think about the first thing. The neck, right here. The neck of any human body. If this is really tight, and you have all the muscles in the front right here that are pulling you forward. Now this skeleton can't move forward, but if I were to show you side by side, if I'm going forward this way, all these muscles right here begin to get tight and pull everything up. The traps begin to get tight up here as well. The neck, scalene, sternocleidomastoid, the jaw muscles, the masseter gets all locked up, and the humerus goes up. Everything gets pulled up in that direction. Okay, the scapula begins to lift up and over. Okay, so it goes up and over. So everything begins to get really, really locked up in that position. The pecs pull this forward as well. So not only are you going up like this with the neck and the trap, but you're going over like that with the pec as well. Okay, the subscapularis, the muscle that's right here in front of the scapula, also pulls everything tight here. The serratus anterior is inactive and tight and locked down, which helps the shoulder go into upward range of motion. It's not working properly. All those muscles just lock up and pull you in this forward up position. There are more muscles too, like your lat gets inactive and it gets locked and tied down in this position. Boom, you're packed down like this, okay? Up, over, and locked. You can't really move your shoulder in any range of motion that you desire. Your rhomboids, through your mid-back here, your mid-trap, all get locked up and inactive. And if your mid-back's not firing properly, you can bet that the shoulder's not gonna move and function the way you want it to. Remember, the shoulder blade needs to control what the shoulder joint is doing, what the humerus is beginning to do. If the shoulder joint's packed down because of your forward posture, everything's moving this way, and you can't move it because there's no strength, there's no stability, everything is going that way, there's no way this is gonna function properly. You're gonna keep jamming up against that acromion process over and over and over and over, and it's not gonna feel very good, okay? So it's important to understand. One thing to just remember is every inch you move away from spinal alignment. When I say spinal alignment, I mean that your vertebrae are stacked on top of each other in a nice aligned and natural curve. When you start to take your vertebrae and it starts to move a little bit this way, and this starts to move that way, over and over and over, and you start to see your discs start to come out this way. As a result, what happens is that you're loading your spine about 10 to 15 pounds per inch that you move your head forward. That's just kind of an average statistic. It's not exactly accurate, but just think about that. Think about how much you're loading your spine every time you move away from alignment. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing that you're moving away from alignment. It's just that, are you training the opposite range of motion as well? If you only train this range of motion, you're constantly loading the spine like that. Your discs go that way, your vertebrae start to go this way. It doesn't feel very good. So, as equally as you're going this way forward, you have to go equally going that way. Okay, so a lot of people think, okay, posture is important. So they think, you gotta squeeze your shoulders back. But that's very limited, because with impingement, with anything health related with the shoulder, not only does the shoulder blade squeeze your shoulder back, but also the shoulder blade has a very important function, which is to go up and down. Okay? There's downward rotation, and there's upward rotation as well. And so the shoulder needs to not only be able to squeeze back and forth, it needs to be able to go up and down. And the problem with impingement is that when it's actually impinged, the shoulder blade might be able to go back and forth a little bit, right? But it probably cannot go up and down, because if you think about it, the trap and the neck are pulling it up and forward, it's stuck. You can't really move. And then your lats are packed down, all these muscles here are packed down. So you can't really move in full downward rotation either, because these are not allowing you to do it. Your lats can't really function the way you want it to. Your mid-back's not firing properly to allow you to move your blade down and back. So that's why it's very important to understand that it's not just this way, it's downward rotation and upward rotation, okay? So, and you can bet the posterior deltoid, all the stuff back here in the back of the shoulder, all that wonderful stuff, the teres minor, the teres major, all these rotator cuff muscles, the infraspinatus, the supraspinatus, are all not functioning properly. And specifically, to remember this, your supraspinatus, which runs through here, right through there, usually gets very inflamed, okay? Because again, the more you're pulling up this way, that supraspinatus tendon starts to run up against that coracoid bone and the acromion, and when it does that, again, you just keep jamming up into that over and over to the point where your tendon just gets used to being in a perpetual state of inflammation. So anytime you move your shoulder up like that in upward rotation, it's always going to get angry, okay? So in a nutshell, shoulder impingement sucks. It's not something that's just magically happening. Usually, 95% of the time, 95% of the cases, it is controllable. And it's because your lifestyle habits are dictating what your shoulder is doing. If you only move your shoulder in one range of motion, here, here, and here, guess what? That's where you get good at. You get really good at doing this over and over and over. So when you try to go into the gym to do these ranges of motion, you don't have that range anymore. You haven't trained it, your body's not ready for it, your shoulder joints are not ready to handle that, okay? And since you've gone so far in the other direction, it begins to become inflamed, unhappy, and telling you it needs some sort of change. So the worst thing you can do is to do nothing and then expect it to change. The best thing you can do is start addressing these problems. So in the next video, we're going to talk about what to do first in terms of addressing your impingement, and then how to progressively get out of it. No matter how severe the impingement is, so you avoid surgery and you slowly start moving towards a better baseline level of health. Until next time, y'all, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, peace.